what just happened in Nigeria could open the door for a maximum pressure campaign against the Iranian regime. Why is that? Well, I'm about to tell you. So here's what happened in Nigeria. The number two for ISIS and its lead financier was eliminated in a combined raid between the United States and Nigeria. And while that's good news for the Nigerians, this is why it could lead to a follow on to Iran. And you might say, I get it, they're both Islamic regimes, but how does Nigeria affect Iran? Well, first of all, it shows the US capabilities to get to move around quickly and clandestinely. And it also shows the power of the United States. Now, when I say this could cause a maximum pressure campaign against Iran, I'm not necessarily talking about strikes or boots on the ground in the country of Iran. What I am talking about is a diplomatic and negotiating tactic that could lead to Iran coming back to the table and putting those nuclear discussions back on. So what's happened so far with Iran, there's back and forth on negotiations between the U.S. and Iran, facilitated by Pakistan, but also by the UAE. And what we're seeing here is the U.S. and Iran are at a standstill. Neither want to cede any power to the other. Both countries, both militaries, both regimes consider themselves winning this conflict, which means we're at a stalemate here. But right now, the IRGC is seeing what happened in the country of Nigeria against the Islamic State, trying to build an Islamic caliphate on the continent, and their number two was eliminated. That sends shockwaves to the IRGC. There are reports now that this coming out of Israel and also some parts of the United States, that by next week we could see strikes again in Iran, and that's not saying that that is going to happen. What that says is Israel, obviously they want to leak these reports out because it sends a message to Iran. It says, Iran, you can either come to the table, you can capitulate to our demands, and all this can be over with, or you can completely be destroyed, and we have the backing of the IDF and the U.S. military. So that's the maximum pressure campaign that's going to be going on. That is what's happening to try to get Iran to the table. But if Iran continues these public displays towards U.S. President Trump, towards Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, I guarantee there will come a day in the very near future where both leaders will say, we're done with this, and we are just going to completely take out Iran. And boots on the ground is not off the table. So we got to watch for that. So two things to be watching for over the next week is public announcements from the IRGC, who is right now controlling Iran. It's not the newly elected supreme leader, because he's, by all accounts, in a coma. We've never seen him after those initial strikes in Iran. So what does the IRGC say? Do they keep putting out these AI Lego videos, which then infuriates both the U.S. and Israel into to making strikes? And is that bait for something? We just don't know. Number two is if they stop doing that, if Iran stops putting out those public announcements, those videos, then what does a peace deal look like? Are we still aiming for a ceasefire, a long-term ceasefire, or a long-term peace deal that then gets into negotiations about nuclear what the U.S. would call stopping all manufacturing of or enrichment of uranium for nuclear weapons, or will Iran come to the table with nuclear discussions on the table, and we see a complete peace deal where the IRGC could stay in control? It looks like from an intelligence perspective, it would be smart for the IRGC to take that and then regain control of Iran. And then from there, what happens, right? So, second and third order effects here, right? If we can get if the U.S. through Pakistan and the UAE can capture a peace deal with Iran, that's long term. That is the first step. That is the immediate answer to that, which everyone will celebrate, and it would be great. But what happens in the future, 5, 10 years down the road, if the IRGC is still keeping power? That's something that Israel does not want to happen. We just heard from the CENTCOM commander in testimony this past week about how the U.S. goals were accomplished, and those U.S. goals were to degrade Iranians' missiles, their drones, and their capability or ability to enrich uranium. That flies in the face of what everybody knows that Israel wants, which is for the IRGC to no longer be in control, to cut the head of the snake, as they would tell you, and then from there put in a moderate or even more pro-Israeli government into Iran. So that's what we have. That's what we have going on. It's going to be a wild weekend. It's going to be a crazy week next week. So, as always, as I always say, stay safe out there.